The boss's son fired me and thought he'd won, but he had no idea what was coming. A single moment can rip your world apart. 1 second, you're steady, doing your job, feeling like you matter. The next, you're out the door, humiliated, left with nothing but the pain of being betrayed. That's what happened to me. But here's the real story. That day didn't just hurt me. It broke him too. The boss's son. The kid who thought he could erase me with a flick of his wrist. He had no clue what he'd started. He didn't know I'd push back. He didn't know I'd make sure his shiny, perfect life would crumble, bit by bit. I'm telling you how it all went down. How I was pushed out, betrayed, counted as nothing. But it's also about how I made sure he lost what he valued most. His smug grin, his big title, his golden future. All gone. I wasn't just a guy he fired. I was the one who flipped his world upside down. And by the end, he'd know what it's like to have nothing. I'm Daniel Harper. For 18 years, I was the quiet force behind Sterling Logistics. Not the guy in the corner office, not the one with a big title or a loud voice. Just the guy who made it all work. I kept the trucks moving, the clients happy, the books balanced. I didn't need applause or a spotlight, but I was needed. Everyone saw it. Everyone got it. Well, almost everyone. There was one person who looked right through me, like I was invisible. I started at Sterling when I was 26. Young, eager, ready to prove myself. Mr. Sterling, the man who built the company, shook my hand on my first day. He looked me in the eye and said, "Daniel, you've got grit. You're loyal. You're the glue that holds this place together." Those words stuck with me. The glue. That's what I was. I worked hard, stayed late, fixed problems before they became disasters. I wasn't chasing glory. I just wanted to do my job right. And for 18 years, I did. Mr. Sterling was a good man. Tough, but kind. He trusted me. When he retired, I wasn't worried. His daughter, Emily, took over. She was smart, no nonsense, but fair. She kept me on as operations manager, and things felt steady. Life was good, simple, predictable. I had a routine. Coffee in the morning, spreadsheets all day, home to my daughter, Lily, by dinner. I thought it would stay that way forever. I was wrong. Then he showed up. Ethan Sterling, the boss's son, barely out of some fancy college, his diploma probably still warm from the printer. He wasn't like his father or his sister. Ethan didn't walk into Sterling Logistics to learn or to help. He walked in to take over. Day one, he strutted through the office like he owned every desk, every chair, every person in the room. Spoiler, he didn't. Not yet. But he acted like it. I'll never forget that first moment I saw him. His suit was too sharp, his hair slicked back like he was in a movie. He had this smile, not warm, but smug, like he knew something we didn't. The other employees noticed it too. They'd glance at him, then look away, like they were scared to catch his eye. I wasn't scared. Not yet. I was curious. Who was this kid, and what did he want? I tried to be friendly. That's who I am. I walked up to him, stuck out my hand, and said, "Hey, I'm Daniel. Been here a while. Happy to show you how things work." I thought he'd appreciate it. I thought he'd see I was trying to help. Instead, he barely looked at me. His eyes flicked over me like I was a speck of dust. "I've got this, Dan," he said. Dan, not Daniel. Like I was his errand boy, someone to order around. His voice had this edge, like he was laughing at me inside. I felt my jaw tighten, but I let it go. I told myself, he's young. He's new. Give him time. I shouldn't have. That moment stuck with me. Dan. It wasn't just a name. It was a signal. He didn't respect me. He didn't care about my 18 years, my late nights, my loyalty. To him, I was nothing. A nobody. I went back to my desk, sat down, and tried to focus on my spreadsheets. But I couldn't shake it. That word, Dan, kept echoing in my head. I kept seeing his smirk, the way he dismissed me without a second thought. I wondered if I'd made a mistake being so polite. Maybe I should have pushed back. Maybe I should have shown him I wasn't just some guy he could brush off. The days before Ethan showed up felt like a different world now. I remembered the early years with Mr. Sterling. He'd call me into his office sometimes, not to yell or give orders, but to talk. He'd ask about my life, my plans. Once, he even met Lily when she was little. She was 5, all giggles, drawing pictures on my desk. He gave her a candy from his drawer and said, "Your dad's a good man, kiddo." That meant something. It made me feel like I belonged, like I was part of something bigger. Emily was different, but she was good too. She didn't chat like her dad, but she listened. If I had an idea to save money or make things run smoother, she'd nod and say, Do it, Daniel. She trusted me, just like her father did. I thought that trust would protect me. I thought my work, my years, my loyalty would keep me safe. I was wrong about that, too. Ethan's arrival changed everything. The office felt different with him around. People were quieter, tenser. Was he here to fire people? To shake things up? Nobody knew, but we all felt it. This shadow hanging over us. I tried to ignore it. I told myself to keep my head down, do my job, and everything would be fine. But deep down, I knew something was coming. I could feel it, like a storm you smell in the air before it hits. I kept thinking about that first day, the way Ethan walked in. He didn't ask questions. He didn't care how things worked. He gave orders, sharp and careless, like he was playing a game. Move this shipment faster, he'd say, without knowing how shipments even worked. Cut costs here, he'd snap, pointing at numbers he didn't understand. People looked at me, waiting for me to step in, to fix it. That's what I did, fix things. But I held back. I didn't want to make waves. Not yet. I kept replaying that moment he called me Dan. It wasn't just the word. It was the way he said it, like I was beneath him. Like my 18 years meant nothing compared to his shiny degree and his last name. I wondered what Mr. Sterling would have thought if he'd seen it. Would he have laughed it off, told me to give the kid a chance? Or would he have seen what I saw? A spoiled brat who didn't care about the company his father built? I tried to push it aside. I went home that night, hugged Lily, and pretended everything was normal. She was 16, always busy with school or her sketchbook. She didn't need to know I was worried. Not yet. I told myself Ethan would settle in. He'd learn. He'd see I was valuable. I kept telling myself that, hoping it was true. But a part of me knew better. A part of me knew he wasn't here to learn. He was here to break things. And I was in his way. By the end of that first day, I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not yet. Just a quiet unease. I looked at my desk, at the coffee mug I'd used for years, at the photo of Lily I kept by my computer. This was my place. My life. I'd built it, piece by piece. And now, this kid, this stranger, thought he could take it away. I didn't know how or when, but I knew he'd try. And I knew I wouldn't let him. Not without a fight. Ethan's first day, he called a meeting. He stood there, acting like he owned us all, and said he had big plans. He used a fancy word, streamlining. I didn't like how it sounded. It felt like trouble, like he was about to mess with things he didn't understand. But I told myself to stay calm. He's just a kid, I thought. Let him talk. He'll figure out how things work. Then he hit me with it. Like a punch I didn't see coming. You're out, Dan, he said. No warning. No explanation. Just those words, sharp and cold. Dan. Not Daniel. Like I was nothing. 18 years at Sterling Logistics. And he called me redundant. 18 years of showing up early, staying late, making sure everything ran smoothly. And just like that, I was done. The room went quiet. Nobody breathed. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get air. I looked at Emily, his sister, the CEO. She was supposed to be in charge. She knew me. She knew my work. I waited for her to say something, to stop this. But she wouldn't look at me. Her eyes stayed on the table, like she was ashamed. She knew this was wrong. She knew I didn't deserve this. But she let it happen. She let her little brother throw me away. I didn't beg. I didn't yell. I couldn't. My throat was too tight, my head spinning. I stood up, grabbed my coat, and started packing my desk. My hands moved slow, like they didn't belong to me. Papers, pens, a coffee mug I'd had forever, none of it mattered. I picked up the photo of my daughter, Lily, and slid it into my pocket. That was all I took. 18 years of my life, boiled down to one picture. I walked out, past desks, past people I'd worked with for years. Nobody looked at me. They turned away, like I was already gone. I understood then. Loyalty? It's a lie. All those years, all that work, and I was nothing to them. Nothing. That night, I sat in my car for hours. I parked outside my house, watching rain slide down the windshield. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my hands hurt. Inside, Lily was probably doing her homework. She was 16, smart, full of life. My whole world. How do you walk in and tell your kid you're a failure? How do you say the job you gave everything to just spit you out? I couldn't do it. I couldn't face her. Not yet. I just sat there, the rain drumming on the roof, my mind stuck on Ethan's smirk. That smug look on his face as he said, "You're out, Dan." Like it was easy. Like I didn't matter. I kept thinking about the meeting. The way Ethan stood there, flipping through his tablet like he was some big shot. The way he said streamlining with that fake confidence. I should have seen it coming. I should have known he wasn't just there to make changes. He was there to break things. To break me. I thought about Emily too. I'd worked with her for years. She wasn't warm like her dad, but she was fair. I trusted her. I thought she trusted me. But when Ethan dropped that bomb, she didn't say a word. She just sat there, letting him humiliate me. That hurt worse than Ethan's words. She knew I was the glue, like her dad used to say. She knew I kept the company running. And still, she let me go. I thought about my years at Sterling. All the late nights, the early mornings. The times I fixed problems nobody else could. The clients who called me by name because they knew I'd get it done. I wasn't the guy in the spotlight, but I was the guy they counted on. And now, I was nothing. Redundant. That word kept circling in my head. Redundant. Like I was extra, useless. Like 18 years didn't mean a thing. I remembered the early days, when Lily was little. I'd come home from work, tired but proud. She'd run to me, all giggles, and I'd swing her around. Those moments kept me going. They made the long hours worth it. I wasn't just working for me. I was working for her. For our life. And now, what did I have to show for it? A pink slip and a photo in my pocket. I felt hollow, like someone had carved out everything I was. I wasn't just angry. I was lost. But sitting there in that car, something else started to grow inside me. Not just anger. Something sharper. Clarity. Ethan thought he'd won. He thought he could toss me out, and that'd be the end of it. He thought I was nobody, just a name he could cross off a list. He was wrong. He didn't know me. He didn't know what I was capable of. He didn't know I'd spent 18 years learning every corner of that company, every system, every secret. He thought I'd disappear. He thought I'd break. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. I kept seeing Lily's face in my mind. Not the little girl from years ago, but the 16-year-old she was now. She was strong, stronger than me sometimes. I couldn't let her see me give up. I couldn't let Ethan's smirk be the end of my story. I didn't know how, but I knew I'd fight back. Not with shouting or begging. That wasn't me. I'd fight smart. I'd find a way to make him pay for what he did. Not just to me, but to everyone who trusted that company. To everyone who believed loyalty meant something. The rain kept falling, and I kept sitting there, turning it over in my head. Ethan's voice. Emily's silence. The word redundant. I thought about Mr. Sterling, how he'd called me the glue. He'd believed in me. He'd trusted me. And now, his son thought he could erase me. I wasn't going to let that happen. I wasn't going to let Ethan win. I didn't know what I'd do next, but I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Ethan had no idea what he'd started. He thought he'd buried me. But I was still here. And I was coming for him. I couldn't let it go. Not the firing. Not the shame. Not the way Ethan smirked when he threw me out. It wasn't just a bad day. Something felt off. Wrong. Ethan didn't just wake up and decide to fire me for no reason. There was something behind it. Something bigger. I could feel it in my gut. I had to find out what. So, I started digging. I wasn't going to let him walk away thinking he'd won. Not after 18 years. Not after everything I'd given. I sat in a coffee shop, my laptop open, the screen glowing in the dim light. I wasn't sleeping much those days. My eyes burned, but I didn't care. I still had access to some old company servers. That was the thing about being the guy who set things up. I knew the back doors, the passwords nobody bothered to change. I wasn't a hacker, but I knew enough. I started with emails. Old ones, buried deep. I scrolled through hundreds, maybe thousands. Most were boring. Schedules, invoices, complaints. But then I found something. Emails that didn't belong. Emails between Ethan and a guy named Victor Klein. The name Victor Klein meant nothing to me. I'd never heard it before. But the words in those emails? They hit me like a slap. Clear out the old guard. Secure the deal. And then, the one that made my stomach twist. Harper's in the way. Harper. That's me. Daniel Harper. I read it again, just to be sure. There it was, in black and white. I was in the way. Ethan wasn't just firing me to look tough. He had a plan. And I was a problem he needed gone. I leaned back in my chair, my coffee cold in front of me. My heart was racing. Victor Klein wasn't one of us. He wasn't an employee at Sterling Logistics. I did some searching, checked old files, looked up names. It didn't take long to figure it out. Victor Klein was a consultant for Apex Freight, our biggest rival, the company that had been trying to steal our clients for years. Ethan wasn't just firing me to play boss. He was selling out Sterling Logistics. My company. The one I'd poured my life into. The one I'd bled for. I sat there, staring at the screen, letting it sink in. Ethan was planning to rip the company apart. He wanted to sell our contracts, our clients, everything we'd built, to Apex. And he'd walk away with millions. Millions. While the rest of us, me, the drivers, the office staff, would be left with nothing. No jobs, no future. Just empty desks and broken promises. And me? I was the guy who could have stopped him. I knew too much. I asked too many questions. I saw the numbers, the schedules, the deals. That's why he got rid of me. That's why he called me redundant. He thought kicking me out would keep his secret safe. He thought I'd just disappear. He was wrong. Piece by piece, it started coming together. I spent days in that coffee shop, my laptop my only friend. I went through more emails, more files. I found notes, schedules, even a meeting log. Ethan and Victor had been talking for months. Months. Before Ethan even showed up at Sterling, he was plotting. They'd met in person, too. I could picture it. Ethan in his fancy suit, shaking Victor's hand, both of them grinning like they'd already won. They thought they were so smart. They thought nobody would figure it out. But I did. Every email I read made it clearer. Ethan wasn't just a spoiled kid. He was a traitor. He was taking his father's company, his sister's company, and selling it out from under them. I thought about Mr. Sterling, how he'd trusted me, called me the glue. He'd be sick if he knew. I thought about Emily, too. Did she know what her brother was doing? I didn't think so. She was tough, but she cared about the company. She wouldn't let this happen. But Ethan didn't care about her, or his dad, or any of us. He only cared about the money. I started writing things down. Names, dates, phrases. Anything that could prove what Ethan was up to. I highlighted the emails, saved them, backed them up. I wasn't going to let this slip away. I wasn't going to let him get away with it. The more I found, the angrier I got. Not just for me, but for everyone. The drivers who worked double shifts. The office staff who stayed late to help me. The clients who trusted us. Ethan was going to destroy it all. And for what? A big paycheck? A pat on the back from Victor Klein? I kept thinking about that phrase, Harper's in the way. It burned in my mind. I wasn't just in the way. I was the guy who could stop him. I knew the company better than he ever would. I knew how the pieces fit together. Ethan thought firing me would shut me up. He thought I'd crawl away, too ashamed to fight back. But he didn't know me. He didn't know how stubborn I could be. He didn't know I'd keep digging until I had enough to bury him. I started to see it like a puzzle. Every email, every file, was a piece. And the more pieces I found, the clearer the picture got. Ethan wasn't just selling contracts. He was making deals behind Emily's back, behind the board's back. He was hiding things, moving money, setting it all up so he could cash out and run. I found a draft of a contract between Sterling and Apex. It wasn't signed yet, but it was close. Too close. If that deal went through, Sterling Logistics would be gutted. We'd lose everything. And Ethan would be long gone, counting his money somewhere far away. I thought about Lily while I worked. She was why I kept going. I couldn't let her see me give up. I couldn't let her think her dad was someone who let people like Ethan win. She deserved better. She deserved a father who fought back. So I kept at it, night after night, piecing it together. I wasn't just fighting for me anymore. I was fighting for everyone Ethan was about to betray. By the time I closed my laptop each night, I felt different. Not broken. Not lost. Determined. Ethan thought he'd gotten rid of me. He thought I was out of the game. But I was just getting started. I had the proof. I had the truth. And soon, I'd have a plan. Ethan didn't know it yet, but he'd made a mistake. He'd underestimated me. And that was going to cost him everything. I couldn't keep it from Lily anymore. She saw me, night after night, hunched over my laptop, barely sleeping. She's 16, smart, and she knows when something's wrong. So, I told her the truth. Not everything, but enough. I told her I got fired, that the boss's son threw me out like I was nothing. I told her I was trying to figure out why. Her eyes got big, worried, but then she hugged me tight and said, "You're not a failure, Dad. You're you." Those words hit me hard. They were simple, but they were everything. They reminded me who I was. Not a nobody. Not redundant. I was her dad, and I was still here, fighting. That hug, those words, they were enough to keep me going. They were enough to make me believe I could do this. I wasn't some computer genius. I wasn't a hacker who could break into systems with a few clicks. But I knew people. 18 years at Sterling Logistics meant I had contacts, guys in the industry who trusted me, guys who owed me favors. I thought about who could help, who could get me deeper into this mess Ethan had made. One name came to mind, Marcus. He was a tech guy I'd worked with years ago. Quiet, sharp, The kind who could find anything if you gave him a laptop and some time. I called him up, told him I needed help. I didn't say much, just enough to get him curious. He agreed to meet. That was the first step. When I met Marcus, I showed him what I'd found, the emails, the names, the proof Ethan was selling out the company. He didn't say much, just nodded and got to work. Marcus knew how to dig deeper than I ever could. He got me into Apex Freight's servers, their files, their secrets. What I found there, it was a gold mine, a mountain of evidence that could bury Ethan. It wasn't just emails anymore. It was contracts, bank records, memos, all of it pointing to one thing. Ethan wasn't just selling Sterling-esque contracts to Apex. He was stealing, skimming profits, hiding money in offshore accounts, places nobody would look. Millions of dollars, tucked away where Emily, the board, nobody at Sterling would ever find it. I sat there, staring at my screen, my heart pounding. This was bigger than I thought. Ethan wasn't just betraying the company. He was robbing it blind. If Emily knew what her brother was doing, she'd lose it. She'd tear him apart. If the board found out, he'd be finished. Fired, disgraced, maybe worse. I had him. Right there, in those files, I had everything I needed to take him down. His signature was on a deal memo, clear as day. His name was on bank transfers. Every move he made, every lie he told, was right in front of me. I wasn't just holding evidence. I was holding his whole world in my hands. But I had to be careful. This wasn't about me getting even just to feel good. This wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake. I wanted justice. Ethan took my life, my job, my pride, my place. He thought he could throw me out and walk away clean. I was going to take his world, everything he cared about, his money, his name, his future. But I had to do it right. One wrong move, one slip, and I'd be the one in trouble. I could see it. Cops knocking, lawsuits, me in cuffs while Ethan laughed. I wasn't going to let that happen. I had to be smart. Smarter than him. I started planning. Every night, I'd sit in my living room, papers spread out on the coffee table, my laptop glowing. Lily would peek in sometimes, worried, but I'd smile and tell her I was okay. I wasn't, not really, but I was focused. I wrote down everything I knew. The emails, the accounts, the deals. I mapped it out, like a puzzle I was building. Marcus kept sending me more, screenshots, records, even a voice memo of Ethan talking to Victor Klein. Every piece made the plan clearer. I wasn't just going to show Emily one email and hope she believed me. I was going to give her everything. A mountain of proof she couldn't ignore. I thought about Ethan while I worked. That smirk, that "you're out, Dan." I thought about how he looked at me like I was nothing. He thought I was gone, out of his way. He thought his plan was perfect. But he didn't know I was still here, watching, waiting. He didn't know I had Marcus. He didn't know I had the truth. I kept picturing his face when he realized he'd lost. Not just his money, but his name, his place. Everything he thought made him untouchable. That thought kept me going. Even when I was tired, even when I doubted myself. I met Marcus again, this time in a parking garage. It felt like something out of a movie, but it was real. I handed him a USB drive with everything I'd collected. He'd add more, clean it up, make sure it was airtight. We didn't talk much, just nodded, serious, like we both knew what was at stake. Marcus wasn't doing this for me. He was doing it because he hated guys like Ethan, guys who thought they could cheat and win. That made me trust him. That made me believe this could work. I kept thinking about Lily too. She was my reason for all of this. I didn't want her to see me as the guy who got fired and gave up. I wanted her to see me as the guy who fought back, who stood up when it mattered. I wanted her to know that justice wasn't just a word. It was something you built, piece by piece, with hard work and a clear head. Every file I saved, every note I wrote, was for her as much as it was for me. By the time I had everything ready, I felt different. Not angry anymore. Not lost. I was ready. I had the proof. I had the plan. I knew exactly how I'd walk into Sterling Logistics and lay it all out. I'd show Emily, the board, everyone, what Ethan was. Not a golden boy, not a leader, a thief, a liar, a traitor. I wasn't going to yell or make a scene. I was going to be calm, quiet, and let the truth do the rest. Ethan thought he'd taken my life. He thought he'd won, but he hadn't. I was still here, and I was coming for him. I didn't call ahead. Didn't need to. I had everything I needed in that folder. Emails, bank records, the deal memo, every lie Ethan told, every secret he hid. It was all there in black and white. His whole world, his house of cards, was about to come crashing down. I walked into Sterling Logistics that day with one goal: to show everyone who Ethan really was. Not the golden boy, not the boss's son. A liar. A thief. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't angry. I was ready. After weeks of digging, planning, and waiting, this was it. This was the moment he'd learn he'd made a mistake when he fired me. I stepped into the boardroom, uninvited, the folder heavy in my hand. Ethan was sitting there, next to Emily, looking smug as ever. Like he owned the place. Like nothing could touch him. I didn't smile. I didn't glare. I just walked in and stood there, letting the room feel my presence. Ethan's been selling you out, I said. Simple. Direct. No need for fancy words. I slid the folder across the table to Emily. She looked confused at first, her brow furrowed. Then she opened it. Her face changed. First shock, like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Then anger, hot and sharp. Ethan tried to laugh it off. "This is nonsense," he said, leaning back in his chair. But his voice cracked. He wasn't fooling anyone. Not anymore. I watched Emily flip through the pages. She didn't say a word, but I could see it in her eyes. She was putting it together. The emails between Ethan and Victor Klein. The deal memo with Ethan's signature, promising Apex Freighter contracts. The bank records showing millions moved to offshore accounts. It was all there, undeniable. Ethan's plan to gut the company, to sell it out and walk away rich. I didn't need to say much. The evidence spoke louder than I ever could. It told the story of a kid who thought he was smarter than everyone else. A kid who thought he could betray his own family, his own company, and get away with it. He was wrong. Ethan's laugh died fast. He started talking, too quick, too loud. "This is fake," he said. "He's lying. He's just bitter because I fired him." But nobody was listening. The board members were looking at Emily, waiting for her to decide. She didn't look at Ethan. She didn't look at me. She just kept reading, her jaw tight, her hands steady. Then she closed the folder. "Get security," she said. Her voice was cold, like steel. Ethan's face went pale. He started to stand, to argue, but Emily cut him off. "Now," she said. And that was it. The Golden Boys game was over. I stood by the window, watching it all. Security came fast. Two guys in uniforms grabbed Ethan by the arms. He didn't go quietly. He screamed about lawsuits, about his rights, about how he'd make everyone pay. His face was red, his hair messy now, his fancy suit wrinkled. Nobody listened. Not Emily, not the board, not the employees watching from the hallway. They all saw him for what he was. A fraud. A traitor. The kid who thought he could ruin everything and walk away. I didn't smile. I didn't cheer. I just watched, calm, as they dragged him out. The golden boy was done. I understood something then, standing there by that window. Power isn't loud. It's not about shouting or throwing your weight around. It's quiet. It's truth. Ethan thought power was his name, his money, his smirk. He thought he could fire me, and that'd be the end of it. But I had the truth. I had the proof. And that was stronger than anything he had. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to fight him. I just needed to show everyone what he'd done. That was enough. I thought about the day he fired me. That "you're out" Dan still sharp in my mind. I thought about how he'd looked at me, like I was nothing. Like 18 years of my life meant zero. I thought about Emily, too, how she'd stayed silent that day, letting him humiliate me. I didn't blame her anymore. She was here now, doing what was right. She saw the truth, and she acted. That was enough for me. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need her to say she was sorry. The folder on that table, Ethan being dragged out, that was all the justice I needed. I kept thinking about Lily as I stood there. She was why I did this. I wanted her to know her dad didn't give up. I wanted her to know that when someone tries to break you, you don't just walk away. You fight. Not with fists or yelling, but with truth. With work. With proof. I wanted her to be proud of me. Not because I got revenge, but because I stood up. Because I showed Ethan he couldn't just throw people away and expect them to stay quiet. The boardroom was quiet now. Ethan's shouting faded down the hall. Emily looked at me, just for a second. She didn't say anything, but her eyes said enough. She knew what I'd done. She knew I'd saved the company. Not for me, but for everyone. For the drivers, the office staff, the clients. For her. I nodded, just a little, and turned back to the window. The city outside looked the same, but I felt different. Lighter. Like I'd put down something heavy I'd been carrying. I didn't stay long. I didn't need to. The truth was out. Ethan's deal with Apex would have destroyed Sterling Logistics. His offshore accounts, his stolen millions, they were all exposed now. He wasn't just fired. He was ruined. His name, his future, gone. And me? I was still standing. I wasn't the guy he called redundant. I was the guy who brought him down. Not with anger, not with hate. With truth. That's what I understood, walking out of that boardroom. That's what I carry with me. Truth isn't loud. It's quiet. But it's unstoppable. I didn't get my job back. Didn't want it. Emily called me a few days after the boardroom. Her voice quiet. Almost sorry. She offered me my old position, maybe even a better one. I listened, but I knew I was done with Sterling Logistics. That place wasn't mine anymore. Too many memories, too much betrayal. I thanked her and said no. I'd given 18 years to that company, and it spit me out. I wasn't going back. Instead, I started something new. I began consulting, helping small logistics firms get on their feet. Better pay, less drama. No fancy suits or smug kids telling me I'm nothing. Just work I'm good at, work I choose. Lily and I were okay. More than okay. We're building something new, together. Ethan, last I heard, he's facing charges. Fraud, embezzlement, maybe more. His world collapsed, just like I said it would. Not because I hated him. Not because I wanted to see him suffer. Because he underestimated me. He thought I was nothing, just a name he could cross off a list. He thought firing me would make his plan work, that I'd disappear and let him sell out the company. He was wrong. He didn't know who I was. He didn't know I'd fight back, not with anger, but with truth. Now he's paying for it. His money, his name, his future, all gone. He's not the golden boy anymore. He's just a guy in a mess he made himself. I think about that day a lot, the day I walked into the boardroom with that folder. I understood something then, something bigger than Ethan or Sterling or even me. Revenge isn't about destruction. It's not about tearing someone down just to feel good. It's about rebuilding. It's about taking what was broken, your life, your pride, and making it whole again. It's about standing up, not just for yourself, but for everyone who's been wronged. The drivers at Sterling, the office staff, the clients who trusted us. I didn't just fight for me. I fought for them. I fought for Lily, so she'd know her dad doesn't give up. I'm Daniel Harper, and I'm still here. I'm sitting by a lake now, at a little cabin I rented for a weekend. Lily's nearby, sketching, her pencil scratching softly. The sunset's turning the water gold, and it's quiet, peaceful. I sip my coffee and think about how far we've come. It's been months since the boardroom, since Ethan's shouting faded down that hallway. Life's different now. Better. I work for myself, picking clients I respect, helping businesses that remind me of what Sterling used to be. Small, honest, hardworking. I don't stay late anymore. I don't stress about numbers or schedules. I come home, eat dinner with Lily, and listen to her talk about school or her drawings. That's enough. That's more than enough. I think about Ethan sometimes, but not with anger. I don't hate him. I don't need to. He's not worth it. He thought he could take everything from me, my job, my dignity, and walk away clean. He thought I'd stay quiet, that I'd let him win. But I didn't. I found the truth, and I used it. Not to destroy him, but to protect what mattered. The company, the people, my daughter. That's what I learned. Justice isn't about hate. It's about doing what's right, even when it's hard. Even when it takes everything you've got. Lily looks up from her sketchbook and smiles. She's 16, growing up fast, but she's still my kid. I smile back, and for a moment, I see her as a little girl again, giggling on a swing, her hair flying. Those days kept me going when I was at Sterling, when I thought loyalty meant something. Now I know better. Loyalty isn't about a company or a boss. It's about the people you love, the ones who matter. Lily's my loyalty now. She's my reason for everything. I think about the folder I carried into that boardroom. All those emails, records, proofs of Ethan's lies. It wasn't just paper. It was power. Quiet power. The kind that doesn't need to shout. I didn't raise my voice that day. I didn't need to. The truth was loud enough. Ethan's world fell apart because he thought he could play games with people's lives. He thought he could fire me and move on. But I was more than a name on a pink slip. I was the guy who knew the company inside out. The guy who wouldn't quit. The guy who brought him down. I take another sip of coffee, watching the sun dip lower. The lake's calm, like it's holding its breath. I feel calm, too. For the first time in a long time, I'm not carrying that weight. The anger, the shame, the fear of failing Lily. It's gone. I rebuilt my life, not the way it was, but better. I'm not the guy who got fired anymore. I'm the guy who stood up. The guy who showed Ethan he couldn't break me. The guy who's here, with his daughter, watching a sunset. I think about what I'd say to Ethan if I saw him now. I wouldn't gloat. I wouldn't laugh. I'd just look at him and say, "You were wrong." That's it. He was wrong about me. Wrong about what I could do. Wrong about thinking he could throw people away and not pay a price. His charges, his ruined name, that's his price. Not because I wanted revenge, but because truth catches up. Always. Lily tosses a pebble into the lake, and we laugh as the ripples spread. It's a small moment, but it's everything. I'm not rich. I'm not famous. I'm just a dad, a guy who works hard, a guy who fought when it mattered. And that's enough. I understood that day in the boardroom, and I understand it now. Life isn't about winning or losing. It's about standing up, rebuilding, moving forward. For you, for the people you love, for everyone who's been kicked down and told they're nothing. I'm Daniel Harper. I was wronged. I fought back. And I'm still here.